It's so funny how like the second episode starts and it's just kind of like a slice of life, like what's Amanda Waller's day like, and she immediately as soon as she like wakes up, it's like 6 a.m. She's like, all right, Amanda, you're gonna take control of your destiny. You're gonna rule over everything, and people are gonna follow you. If they don't, then they'll die. And just like, girl. Take it easy. You're at a fucking 11. Let's like bring it down to a 7 or something like that. I thought that was very funny that she has her morning routine of psyching herself up before she starts doing all of her nefarious shit, which she does both in the first episode and also here. And I like that. Let's go ahead and get into my review for My Adventures of Superman Season 2. More like my impressions, though. Obviously, I have not seen the full second season. I've only seen the first 2 episodes. Although eventually, after watching the entirety of Season 2, I will come back and I will do a full season review for the series. But I wanted to do this, just because, again, for those that don't know, I was a very big fan of the first season of My Adventures of Superman. It came out during a period where a lot of Superman content was portraying the Man of Steel as an apathetic or even malevolent figure. Obviously, most notably in the DCEU films, and Zack Snyder's Superman movies in DC films. And that's not to say that there hasn't been great Superman content that was popping up even during that period. Obviously, in terms of adaptations on television, you had Superman and Lois, which is what I've seen of it. I really enjoy. I eventually got to finish that show. I know it'll be wrapping up at some point. I think this is its last season. It's 4th and last season. Kind of ending under sad circumstances, I guess. I guess because their budget got halved and they can't bring back all the cast and things. So that's sad. But what I have seen of that show, I really enjoyed. And there's been Superman stories that has popped up and everything. And thankfully we're coming out of the Zack Snyder and DCU era, and I'm hopeful for other Superman adaptations such as James Gunn's Superman. He seems to have the right idea for it, right? And that's what makes me so happy about My Adventures of Superman. Because unlike the DCEU interpretation, this is a Superman that embraced the things that have defined the character for decades. It's like, yes, he has all these amazing abilities, all these cool superpowers, sure. But the thing that has always appealed about Superman and what has made him, I think, just continue to be a source of inspiration and also just a character that is continuously embraced is that he's kind. He's a good person, and that's what this show has constantly and consistently showcased throughout, obviously, its original season and also these, first 2 episodes. This is a Superman who was raised by a caring family and was told to do was told to be the best person that he can possibly be and to always do the right thing. It's like, yes, he swoop down and save all these people, but the thing that I love about this show and so far this season is that he's also that character that will take a moment to tell a person that it's going to be okay. Like literally put his hand on your shoulder or embrace you or hug you and tell you it's going to be okay. I'm just like, I love that. And that's what this show has done, so well. I mean, the tone is not to say that they don't do serious things throughout this entire series and these first 2 episodes. They absolutely do. But the tone, I think, has a nice balance of wholesomeness, of comedy, and seriousness. And I've really liked that so far. Like the focus has very much been on the trio that is Clark Kent, Superman, Lois Lane, and Jimmy Olsen, and their changing relationships. And I'll go into more detail about their characters so far in these first 2 episodes. But I like that still remains the focus, along with all their other supporting characters. Like they obviously play a role in these episodes too. But I like that that's still what they want to focus on. And they're also just not afraid to play around with the mythology. it's like they have stuck to the tenets of the things that have defined Superman for decades. Just him being this morally righteous, upstanding, and kind person. But they're not afraid to kind of play around with the history and maybe the backstory of certain characters and the presentation of them, changing maybe their aesthetics and things like that. In regards to Superman, they haven't, even though they've showcased, Krypton and Krypton technology actually has a big role here. This is Superman who is unaware of his Kryptonian heritage. He's confused by it. He's scared by it, right? And he comes to learn a little bit more about it in these most recent episodes in season 2. But I kind of like that it's a different, take on that. Like, he doesn't have, Jor-El constantly telling him, like, well, do this, Clark, or do this, Cal, do it this way or do it that way. It's like, no, he's very unfamiliar with it. And he's actually kind of terrified of his Kryptonian heritage. And I like that. And also playing around the mythology of the villains. Like, this isn't a Superman where he's going up against Lex Luthor every other episode. It's like, no, they've actually chosen to showcase villains that maybe mainstream audiences aren't too familiar with, and kind of changing their histories and backgrounds, such as Professor Ivo, who serves as Parasite for this particular Superman, or a new take on Livewire, who's more of a mercenary. And a bunch of other characters as well. And I think that's been kind of cool to see them presented in such a different way. And then the last thing, which I feel like might be the biggest issue that some people have, outside of maybe the happy and kind tone, is the animation style. The creators of the show have been using an anime style, and I actually liked it. It's something a little different that we don't often see with a lot of our Western heroes, DC or Marvel heroes, and it's actually been used quite well. They've created some very cute scenarios between all the characters and things that you've often seen in anime across the board, even shown in anime. But they've also been able to put together these wonderful action sequences, obviously in the first season, but also in these first 2 episodes as well. And I think so far they've just been able to create something that honors and respects Superman and where he came from, the things that have defined him for years, but also reintroducing him to a new audience, especially in animation, might be unfamiliar with the character, or at least them presented in an animated format where they're not like, murderous or evil, etc., which is great. But it's also been, I think, just a wonderful palate cleanser to people who have disliked recent interpretations of Superman for the last decade or so, where they've leaned away from the things that have defined the character for so long, which I really like. And for people that need a bit of a synopsis, for this specific season, at least so far, this is taking place after Lois Lane's father learns that Superman is not this evil, nefarious figure, and Superman and Lois and Jimmy are still investigating Kryptonian technology and what it all means in relation to Clark. And despite him being an alien, they still view him as their friend, or a boyfriend in the case of Lois. But then we also see just what Task Force Ask the Suicide Squad and Amanda Waller is up to, and how certain characters who are originally background characters, such as the character of Alex, and what they eventually want to do and aspire to do, and when they're confronted with perceived threats such as the Man of Steel. The first episode, I think it's great because it's much like the original episode of the first season. It initially focuses on just the relationships between the characters of Superman, of Jimmy, and of Lois. Jack Quaid continues to do a fantastic job voicing this character, and we've gotten a lot of amazing Superman voice actors, over the years. But what Jack Quaid has done, Jack Quaid is just like one of those guys who has just been consistently great in most of the things that he's appeared in. It's like, is he a Nepo baby? 100%. But, unlike a John David Washington, he actually has the talent to back it up. And I just loved his Clark. He's the perfect Clark Kent because he's so well-meaning. He's so earnest. He's so forthright. He's so kind. He tries his best. He's still, trying to figure out, like, how can I be the best Superman that I can possibly be, but also maintain his regular life as Clark Kent, because that's one thing. He really wants to just be Clark Kent. He wants to have a girlfriend. Like, initially in this episode, he's racking his brain about, like, oh, what could be, like, the perfect, because it's Valentine's Day. I want to make, this Valentine's Day special because it's his first Valentine's Day with Lois. How can I do this? And he has this whole plan, what he wants to do with that, but, the whole Kryptonian heritage of it all interrupts that. And then you have Lois, who is so busy with her job and investigating this whole thing, also worried about her dad. She doesn't know where her dad is after the events of the first season. She's been able to contact him, and it's been difficult contacting him. She doesn't even realize it's Valentine's Day. And so she feels guilty that Clark is, like, going out of his way to make this, like, the most perfect day, and she didn't even realize it. And I think that's adorable. I just love their back and forth with each other, and in their realization about, oh yeah, it is Valentine's Day, and despite the day being very hectic, they continue to prove how much they care about one another through their, obviously, dialogue and through their actions. And they give stuff for Jimmy to do. Jimmy, which, easily could have become just like a third wheel or something, at the end of season 1. I kind of like what they know of Jimmy, who has become enormously successful and insanely rich. And they got, like, a little visual gag with him where he's just kind of spending his fortune willy-nilly, and it kind of pops up over his head. It's like, I can just charter us a private jet to get to Antarctica, and it'll pop up, and it's, like, subtracted from his total, amount of wealth, which I thought was very funny. But they even have, they give him, they give stuff for Jimmy to do. They give stuff to Lois to do, even when they're separated by Clark. It's not just like, all right, we're just waiting to be rescued by Superman. It's like, no, they give them stuff. They're proactive with them. They're proactive within the story itself, which I think is great. And in this episode, like, Clark finally has a proper conversation with his father, Jor-El, who didn't even realize, he didn't even speak the language. Only now is he able to finally communicate with Jor-El throughout this episode. And they have some wonderful interactions, and it's very different than I think we've maybe often seen from Clark and Jor-El's in the past, And it's fleeting, too, which I really liked. And then the episode 2, they really lean into the Amanda Waller of it all, who is voiced by Deborah Wilson. In this, she previously voiced Amanda. I guess no, she voiced Amanda Waller obviously in the first. I didn't even realize that was her, but of course she's also coming off of voicing Amanda Waller in the Suicide Squad video game, which I've heard horrible things about. But she's great. She's really good this season. She's also a sumbitch through and through. It's so funny how, like, the second episode starts and it's just kind of like a slice of life, like, what's Amanda Waller's day like? And she immediately as soon as she, like, wakes up, it's like 6 a.m. She's like, all right, Amanda, you're gonna take control of your destiny. You're gonna rule over everything, and people are gonna follow you. If they don't, then they'll die. And just like, girl. Take it easy. You're at a fucking 11. Let's, like, bring it down to a 7 or something like that. I thought that was very funny that she has her morning routine of psyching herself up before she starts doing all of her nefarious shit, which she does both in the first episode and also here. And I like that. And I always thought it was, like, really interesting how, in terms of, like, starting off with Superman villains, they didn't go with, the kind of the go-tos, like, Lex Luthor or a General Zod or even a Brainiac. Like, they actually had Clark go up against the Task Force S, like Deathstroke, who's voiced by Chris Parnell, who does a really good job. I think we're so used to seeing Chris Parnell voice these kind of, like, nebbish, nerdy, beta male-esque best characters, but it's cool to actually have him be nefarious and psychotic, and he's a sadist. Like, this Deathstroke is a sadist through and through. Like, he enjoys hurting people, and I thought that was, like, just great to, like, cast him. They kind of go out of the box with some of their casting, and it works, though. It's something, it makes it fresh. It's a little different. And seeing something as you wouldn't even think about it, because, Amanda Waller, she's just this type of figure who's always in the shadows, always controlling everything. But yeah, what does she do, like, in the morning? And we kind of see that. And I thought that was such a great way to start off the episode. Just making pancakes and sausages. That's how she wants to start her day, and coffee. I thought that was really cool. Now, listen, this is a bit of a spoiler. You know, there was a character from the first season whose name was Alex. They kept emphasizing, oh, this is this character named Alex. And he worked for like Dr. Ivo. He actually creates the parasite suit. He's the brain behind the parasite suit that's used by Dr. Ivo, which turns him into a fucking abomination. And we see more of Dr. Ivo here, and he keeps getting worse and worse and worse. More savage, more gross, more disgusting as time goes on. But we do find out who Alex actually is. And it's just like, well, of course he's that. He's this person. And I like what they're doing with him so far. I like that they've had him kind of in the background. He's not been at the forefront. I think now after episode 2, after he revealed who he actually is, after he shortens his name, if you will, I'm very interested to see the kind of threat he'll be throughout the rest of this season. He's voiced by a person named Max Middleman, who I'm not familiar with. Apparently he does like a lot of anime voiceover stuff. But so far he has done a great job, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Alex's and Superman's interactions with each other, and just his interactions with the rest of the cast. He's had some interesting interaction. Matter of fact, I think the reason why he's going to become such a threat and so nefarious is because of Jimmy Olsen. Gives him a bit of a pep talk. It's like, hey man, you got to seize the day. Like, stop working for all these other people. All right, you're a smart guy. You're a genius. You're brilliant. I can obviously tell. You got to do it for you, man. And Alex is like, you know what? Thank you. I think no one's ever told me that before, and I think I'm going to do that. I thought that was very fun. I'm just like, Jimmy, I don't think you know what you're doing. But I really enjoyed that. But yeah, so far, it just in terms of, again, the character interactions are so cute. Everything between Clark and Lois is adorable. They do some callbacks for season 1, but like, just them expressing their love to each other, how much they appreciate each other, like even like little small things where like nuzzling or hugging or cuddling, or it's really cute. Like, I love their dynamic. I love their relationship. It's adorable. And like Jimmy in there again, he's just not like a third wheel or something. They give him stuff to do. He's proactive. He has his own storyline. I like his interactions with Clark and with Lois. It really is a perfect trio. And just the world building that they're doing and what they seem to be working towards, I think is really cool. Obviously, with Alex becoming more of a threat, Amanda Waller and then the Suicide Squad becoming more of a threat, and then there's the whole Kryptonian heritage of all, and then they mentioned characters like Brainiac, and might be a different take on a familiar but at the same time different take on a character like Brainiac, which has me just really excited. And I've really enjoyed these first 2 episodes. I don't think they've dropped in quality when compared to the first season. It makes me hopeful that if this show continues to be a success, and I know that they're doing like other DC animated projects right now. I know you have like the Cape Crusader by Bruce Timm, which I'm interested in checking out, and of course you have like those VOD movies, which I've heard mixed things about personally. But I would just love a new DCAU and have it be like the My Adventures universe. And, they have introduced Batman supporting characters in this show before. I've talked about them, like Vicky Vale, who was in the first episode, in some episodes from season 1. She's mentioned again here. She's going to be a supporting character in this season as well. But I think it would just be cool if, they could, they don't have to, but they could, guest star Bruce Wayne, or they could just do the My Adventures of Batman. My Adventures with Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, like all these different characters, My Adventures with the Justice League. If they wanted to build towards that, they absolutely can, and, but if they don't, like that would be disappointing. I'd be like, I think that's an opportunity to do so. But at least for right now, humble beginnings right now with the My Adventures Superman, I think it's been great. There's so much I just appreciate about this show, and I love that they're just leaning into the things that have so defined Superman, putting it on full display, creating some wonderful relationships to watch, but then also having fun with the mythology, and again, still respecting it and honoring it, but doing new things with it that make it feel fresh and cool. But yeah, so far I've really enjoyed these first 2 episodes, and I highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. If you guys maybe had some misgivings, or you just weren't sure you want to invest yourselves, well, first of all, watch the first season. I think it's very enjoyable. And at least with these first 2 episodes, I think season 2 is off to a strong start. And I can't wait to watch the next 8. And after I watch those 8, I'll do a full season 2 review of my adventures with Superman. But what about you guys? Were you fans of the first season? What do you think of these first 2 episodes so far? Do you like the characters? Do you like the world building? Do you like the animation? Do you not? Let me know.
5 minutes later.
Trillers, Jack Quaidfact. Jack attended high school at Crossroads School in Santa Monica, California, where he was president of the Bad Movie Club. We have things in common. After graduating, he went on to study at New York University's TIS School of Arts for 3 years. Nice. Bad Movie Club. He worked hard on Valentine's Day, and she forgot Lois is going to have to put out. Yeah, I know. Which is like, well, it's so funny in the episode. I don't want to spoil it, but like Jimmy's like, so you know what Clark's been doing all day? She's like, well, what? And he's like, he's been trying to like make the perfect Valentine's Day for you. And she's like, it's Valentine's Day? Oh, it's Valentine's Day. It's really funny. I really like that. Self-affirmations are important, even if you're a villain. That's true. Oh, man. Oh, God. Oh, Clark, why is this DVD recording interactive? Yeah, she hates many humans. Like this Deathstroke wouldn't just be toying with the T-Titans. He would actually kill. Yeah, he would. But he's a sadist, too. He enjoys causing physical pain. He's fucked up. Maybe different take. They could do a different take on Batman. I wouldn't mind that. Go for it. Which I would watch the show, but I simply don't have the time. No, I get it. Yeah, there's so much great TV on right now. Guess oh my God, I love that with Lois and Clark in this. Oh, it's so cute. No, their relationship is adorable. They even I don't want to spoil too much, but they do a callback to Lois constantly like throwing herself off of things, and Clark's like, "Don't do it." She's like, "What do you mean?" She's like, "I see you edging towards the edge of the thing." He's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." Oh my God, it's so fun. It's super cute. Kryptonian Empire. Yeah, like they're playing around with the Kryptonian mythology and history, which I think is really cool. So I'm excited about that. We might see some other familiar faces eventually, but new interpretations of them, which I think is really cool. I mean, like it's not a spoiler. Like in the first episode of season 2, they mentioned Brainiac, and you know how they're handling Brainiac. I think it's somewhat similar to Superman the animated series, to a degree. He's a Kryptonian creation. Like they straight up say he's a Kryptonian creation, but he might not be, at least from what they've shown, like the end all. Like I've actually been in control the entire time, and I don't want to get into too many details yet, but I think it would be kind of a cool take on Brainiac. That's all I'll say. Mongol? No Mongol hints, at least not right now. Trini, they're hinting that Clark is going to feel like Lois isn't taking his feelings into consideration with shutting down him looking for Kara and then moving her dad in space. That's the other thing too. Like, you know, that's the big reveal of the first episode, is that there are at least one other Kryptonian that we know of, that being Kara Zor-El. They haven't really gone into too much detail about that yet, other than just saying that she is out there, and that's something that is on Superman's mind, because that's the only blood-related family that he has. So I want to talk more about that once there's just been more episodes kind of focused on that. They just kind of introduced in the first episode, and they haven't really done anything with it since introducing it. So I'll speak more about that once we have some episodes where Clark has to deal with that, and you know, his interactions with Kara as well, because they haven't gone into that yet. But I'm excited about it. But yeah, so far, Chet, I think this season's really good, really fun. Oh my Lord! But I guess with that, you know what we could do, since we have some time, I can do some. We can play maybe some riff tracks. Isaac, but let me ask you guys' thoughts on this. Oh, I love that Deathstroke. He's a fucked villain. Fucked up villain, I think that's what you mean. And I like that he still wants to face down the T-Titans, and then he uses psychological warfare to torture them at times or get in their heads like in the old show. Yeah. Amanda Waller is like the big bad in the current comic event coming up. She's all over the place, and then the show she's called Mandy. I love it. I love they call her Mandy. That's really funny. You're absolutely right. I've been, for my audio commentaries, every time they call her Mandy, I'm calling her Manda Panda. Oh, hey, Manda Panda. I think it's very funny. I've liked that. Yeah, it's cool. It's Deborah Wilson's doing a great job. voicing her, and what they've written so far for Amanda Waller, I think is great too. I've enjoyed it quite a bit.